I'm currently working to downscale this model. I saved a copy of this model already for future use, but I'm creating a downscaled version. This is a model of my body and my skeleton. I used um, a real human skeleton and then modified it, simplified it, lowered the polygon count using the ZBrush decimate function. Um, and I tweaked it and polished it, and I scaled it to fit into the base mesh of a base mesh I bought and modded and tweaked and customized as well. That was a base mesh that was the same size as my body. So basically this is my body's skeleton, my body's base mesh. And I was going to make all the bones by 3D printing and then converting it to a fiberglass and epoxy composite. But that process was so time intensive that I just was finding it was just taking years, just taking way too long for me. And so I decided to outsource that process, and then that was also taking forever. So pretty much it was going to take forever no matter what I did, cost a lot of time and money no matter what I did. And then it struck me, I bought this medical skeleton on eBay for like $90, and it's actually got very strong bones. And I was like, these actually are so strong, I think it would actually work in my robot. And they weren't that heavy. They're made of PVC. So that got me thinking maybe I should just use that skeleton but then modify it to be the size of my body, because I want the robot to be a clone of me. But then that even became overwhelming because each and every bone on that body is like 25 to 30% smaller than every bone in my body, is what I found out. That robot's like, or that skeleton is like 1.5 feet shorter than me and more petite in every way. The shoulders, the legs, everything. The bones are literally substantially smaller in every way. And so I was like, man, to scale up those bones, cutting them in half and then adding fiberglass and epoxy to join the two halves, but extending the two halves, like what would you call that? I don't know. I was gonna chop them in half, literally just stretch them out, and then create a sleeve of fiberglass and epoxy to fill the gap. And I realized that process would take away the structural integrity, it would add weight, and it would be almost as big of a process as just making all the bones from scratch. And so I kind of gave up on that idea, and I was just going to sell this. Just sell it or / return it, just get rid of it. But then it hit me, wait, I'm being so stubborn, stuck on this idea the robot has to be the exact same size as me, that I'm literally going to give away this thing which represents a total solution to me having to make all these bones. It's already having fully made bones. And I can't justify sticking to the original plan to create a robot that's an identical replica of myself when I've got a finished, all the bones done, which would take years to work up toward. And I can start just progressing if I just use what I've found to work already. So the question then becomes, alright, what do I do with like the 2 years of work to build the robot's whole arm and hand, and sculpting the rib cage and sculpting the spine, and all that work I already put into moving toward a custom composite fiberglass bone structure for Adam. And I don't want to just throw away all that work, right? Just toss it in the trash. That would really be demoralizing and seem so wasteful. But I also don't want to fall for the sunk cost fallacy, which is to chase after a huge time investment because you've already put in too much time, even though it's really not the best route to go, but you've already spent so much time anyways, you just keep going that route even though it's not the best route. I don't want to fall into that because I think it's not prudent, and it's really just going to shoot myself in the foot by making sure that I don't have a robot for a very, very long time. Maybe I would eventually have it, but I'd rather try to speed up the timeline of me getting my own robot. So here's the proposed solution at this point. I simply take the 3D model that I have here and I downscale it and I tweak it in every way to match the 3D model of that. I have a saved copy of this because it's already perfect match of my body. I'm going to save that. I'm going to create a miniaturized version of it that matches this skeleton. And then I'm going to use it to populate this model with motor positions, position of cooling system, position of all the hose, wiring, whatever. I'm going to actually do all the design work on the downsized model. And the downsized model will match exactly the PVC medical skeleton that I bought. And then I'm going to actually make the PVC medical skeleton that I bought be my robot. But I can't say that that is Adam because I've already spent years making the bones for Adam, and those bones have sentimental value. So I'm going to call this a separate robot project. I'm going to build it first, and then I'll have that robot build Adam / have employees of mine build Adam, whatever. Adam can be a secondary project or the next project where I'll go through and finish Adam. Adam will still be a robot made to look as a clone of me, and I'll still use all the bones I've already started making or have already completed for that build. But that build is going to be put on pause so that I can do a practical build where I'm so much further ahead than Adam now just by having bought that skeleton, a functional skeleton. I'm just going to run with that. I'll actually have a humanoid robot at that point with this robot, and then this robot can build Adam, or I can have other people build Adam, or some combination in between. But I want to get a humanoid robot as soon as possible, and this is the fastest way to do that, is just to not have to make all these bones. I can pretty much sew together all the bones on this thing and get it caught up to where Adam's at, and then be 1,000 steps ahead on that, years ahead on that, because I've already got every other bone of the body done in the form of this medical skeleton. So I'm able to play catch up and get all caught up with this to where Adam is very quickly, because it's just a matter of sewing together the artificial ligaments, and then it's off to the races. And as a side note, I'm finding that some of the stuff they did on the medical skeleton is actually going to work fine. Like, here's a joint they did for the elbow. It's just like a little metal hook on a little metal cross piece, but it actually works great for the full functioning arm. And really the muscles are what's going to hold the forearm up to the humerus or the bicep bone. It's going to be the muscles that hold it from dropping off. So this is just kind of holding it roughly in place. It doesn't need to be anything but that. I'm happy with it being just like that. So I'm cool with keeping it as is. And I'm finding that on a lot of the stuff they did on this to hold it all together with little metal parts, I can leave stock as is. I don't have to mess with that, which saves me even more time creating the artificial ligaments. They will function as artificial ligaments, in other words, and so that will save even more time. I'm finding that the pronation and supination of the forearm stock, how they put it, is going to work out fine. What I'm finding is not good enough is the flexibility of the fingers. They just don't want to bend really. So I'm going to have to redo the fingers. I've already done the thumb. You can see I've got the thumb here, and I've already put in the artificial ligaments, which I've done on Adam, and I've got videos on how I do that. But I've already got that done, and I'll be reconnecting that to here. And I'll have to do these other 4 fingers. But pretty much the wrist is kind of okay how they've got it. You can see that we've got full extension of the wrist. That's going to work like as is. So the way they did that, I think it's going to be fine. So it's actually going to save a lot of work as far as how they've connected the bones being acceptable for my robot as well. Like, it's going to be insane how much time this is going to save. I'll be able to very quickly get all caught up to where Adam's at. And then I was thinking, like, the way they've got the torso all rigid, I can leave it like that, even though ultimately it's going to have expanding and contracting rib cage, and it's going to have a fully articulated spine. But just having it be all rigid how they've got it now, I think is okay to start connecting the different components into that rigid torso, and actually proceeding with the rigid torso, getting the cooling systems, the power systems, the battery systems, liquid cooling and air cooling systems all mounted into that area, the onboard computer, getting it all mounted in, and then running all the hardware and stuff to the arm from that, all the cooling systems to the arm, all the power systems to the arm, all the feedback systems, everything. And then I can get the arm fully articulated and working. And at that point, I could do the other arm as well. Have a robot that has 2 functioning arms. Maybe I can get the head functioning. But he'll still be mounted on his stand. And he'll still have a rigid torso. But 2 arms and a head, now he can start doing a lot of stuff, like work. Like actually making things, whatever. I could even get his legs working and maybe get him to be able to move around a little bit on his stand. If he can reach the ground, he could start to roll, like walk a little bit maybe. Who knows what we can do at that point. But I can add later the articulation of the torso. But I'm more interested in just getting something moving as soon as possible. At this point, I'm like so over not having anything move of my robot ever. Like, it's never moved. I've always gotten so close to getting it to that phase and then had to take 10 steps back. Like when we had the whole arm done and I started mounting the servos, I saw that the servos were going to be way too big, the number I needed, so then I had to totally redesign to get rid of the Metal Gear servos and just use little DC motors, which can fit a lot more within the structure of the arm than those big servo, which comes in a box with all the little motors in it, potentiometer in it. They're not very space efficient. So I just decided to go with a custom servo solution using brushless DC motors. And so all those had to be removed. And then we got deep into the development of the power supply system, so I never actually got to do anything because I just ended up working on building a custom power supply, which then all these other projects came up in the meantime, so that never actually got done. It's just been one thing after the next, and so many delays, it feels like. And then another big delay was deciding, you know what, I need to get a full digital schematic blueprint of the entire project, because if I just start connecting motors willy-nilly, I'll never have room for everything. I'll have to take it apart and redo it a lot. So I need to plan out where everything's going to be in advance in design software where I can move it around quickly. And then in real life I can put it in, knowing where it's going to go and where that is in relation to everything else, and making sure everything fits in advance before I start connecting anything. So the design phase has to be done and that's going to take a lot of time, but I've made great progress on that. And so yeah, that's the plan. We've got to come up with a new name for this. This is basically a new humanoid robot project, and everything I was doing with Adam is now put on hold, and this robot will have a different name. I think we should go with the biblical theme. Since the first robot was Adam, I think that this robot should be named Abel, because Adam and Eve had Cain and Abel. Those are their two sons. Cain was the evil one. I don't want to have the evil named robot. So I think Abel is a good one. So Abel is the son of Adam. This is my second humanoid robot since Adam was the first one. And I'm kind of starting over with this robot because it's going to save so much time using a pre-built skeleton, so I don't have to make all these bones. And we'll call this robot Abel, and we'll be able to crank it out so much faster. It's not going to be fast, but it'll be faster. And hopefully we'll be able to get the electronics going on it as soon as possible. But first comes design work, and then we'll be getting into making stuff after that. I want to do like maybe half hour to an hour a day, maybe every other day is the plan. Maybe like just here and there. I miss working on my robot so much that... No, Cain was the one that killed... He killed his brother. I don't want the robot to be named Cain. I miss working on the robot so much that I finally decided I'm just gonna... Like, I feel like there's just never gonna be a time where there's nothing else going on. There's always gonna be somebody I'm wanting to help out with volunteer work. There's always going to be a major household repair project. There's always going to be fixing my car or fixing my wife's car. There's always going to be another trip I'm planning. There's always going to be more business, product manufacturing, and order fulfillment to do. There's literally never going to be a time where I have nothing else going on in my life and, oh, now's a good time to work on the robot. I've been waiting for that moment, it feels like, and it's just been like a year of just real busy, real productive year, but I'm not okay with that. I just really feel like it drives me crazy not to get to work on the robot whatsoever. So I just want to work on it, nothing crazy. I'll still prioritize whatever is the bigger priority in general in life. But no more will I just utterly have the robot completely on hold. Unless if I've got a lot of big emergency projects and I can't possibly work on it. But I feel like even if I've got really high priority emergency type stuff, I can still afford to chuck in half an hour 2 or 3 times a week during my relaxation portion of the day. Just little tiny chunks. I would feel happy just make any kind of progress. This idea of just zero progress, that's what's killing me. So yeah. Alright, so I got everything selected, and like I said, I created a backup because this is all perfect representation of my body as is, and I didn't want to mess with that. So I saved a backup and I created a second copy of this file that I can modify for the Abel robot. So Adam is not going to get abandoned. I'll have Abel build Adam. But it makes more sense to build Abel first, since Abel has all of his bones already done. And Adam's bones are going to take years to finish making. I'll probably have the Kenyans build Adam's bones, which could take them years, but I'll just pay them to do that. That's fine, and I can have Abel build bones as well if they don't if they don't get around to it and it takes them too long or whatever. So, and because we built all the bones of Adam already in 3D software, all to scale, all perfectly done. Perfect. Because of that, I'll be able to have them 3D print all those bones. And we've already built the entire left arm, the clavicle, and the scapula. Those are all done already. And we've got most of the bones of the rib cage already well on their way to being done. And I can have some local friends actually help me finish fiberglassing those and sanding them down. And so over time we can get this whole thing and then the rib cage done, and then I'll 3D print the spine and have that fiberglassed in Kenya. I'll have the Kenyans build all the legs maybe, and the right arm and the head. But yeah, we're jumping straight into building Abel now. So Abel is the new robot project, and it's not like we have to start from scratch because we already have all this amazing mesh building and skeleton building work done, and we already have a lot of the strategies and techniques done. We already have a lot of the design work done. We've already got a lot of the prototype for the power supply done. So a ton of stuff is done. It's not like we're starting from scratch at this point. As a matter of fact, I would say that because I have all the bones technically done, since I'm going to use this medical skeleton, we're actually further along than we ever have been toward having a robot. Even though it's not Adam, it's Abel, but we're closer to having a robot than we've ever been. Alright, let me read the chat. Hi Fluoride, hi Pitbull, hi Mailbox. Yeah, the femur bone is pretty thin in the thigh, but it's a pretty fat bone though. I mean, it's pretty big. But yeah, a lot of the thigh is just muscle. That's why it's got to be on the thinner side. A lot of the thigh is just pure muscle mass. Think of like a chicken thigh. Okay, so I'm going to scale it down. This is a much smaller much smaller robot than Adam was going to be. Okay, so I'll scale it down until something matches. Uh-oh. Alright, I gotta group them first. How do I do that? Mesh, combine. Alright. Wait. I moved the access point of every single bone when I. Oh no, this is gonna be bad. Well, I have no choice, but yeah, every single bone's access point was meticulously moved. Now that's all messed up, but whatever. Mesh combine. Now every access point is going to be put back at the origin down here. That's going to suck. But I don't think I'll be moving the bones that much anyways, like I did when I was actually still sculpting everything. At this point, we're just scaling it. We might have to modify the bones individually to some extent to match the medical skeleton, but I imagine it won't be too bad. Alright, so I'm just going to eye it for now and say it's about that much smaller. Okay. Now actually start taking measurements, and we'll see one part at a time. So maybe I think the femur would be a good spot to start. When will I abandon ship? I literally am starting to work on the robot with a renewed excitement and vigor. I mean, actually the excitement never left, but I'm officially relaunching, starting to work on the robot again. Alright, that's 16.5 inches from the bottom to the top of the ball. Or 16 3/4 inches from the bottom of the bottom to the top of the ball of the femur. So 16.5 inches. Let's see. That's okay. That's almost. Okay. Whoops. Yeah, it's centimeters. I don't know why I'm trying to look it up. Let me see. Yeah, okay. 16.5 inches to centimeters. That would be 42 centimeters. Okay, now we're talking. Okay, so 15, 30 would be at the end of this one. 30. Oh, wow. 40 would be right, 42 would be right around there. So we actually made it, we made it smaller than it used to be. Okay, so we're good. It's not that much size difference. Okay. And I feel like once we get the scale of the humerus right, then every other bone will kind of already be right. You know what I mean? Like we're not going to have to do too much more once we get one bone accurate. Because most likely the bones are going to be proportional to one another to some extent. Alright, so that's the bottom of the humerus. And what did we say? It's 42 centimeters. Each one of these rulers is 15 centimeters. So 15, 30. Okay. $40, $41, $42. That's perfect. 42 is right here. And that's lining up with the top of the humerus. So it's perfect. That took 2 attempts. That was actually really quick. Yeah, if centimeter makes sense because like the 3D printer is going to use metric, and I downloaded these rulers to help with sizing for 3D prints. The rulers I never scale, so these rulers are to scale with real life, and that enables me to create models that are going to be the same size as they would be 3D printed. So being able to do all of my sculpting to scale means if you 3D print it, everything's going to be like real life proportions. So I won't print this out and it ends up being the size of a G.I. Joe. I'm designing a humanoid robot. It's going to be, well, you can read about it in the description, but it's going to be able to walk, talk, run, jump, talk, do sports, have realistic conversations, etc. Okay, so, oh, another thing I wanted to mention to you guys is I'm actually thinking of making the robot big, as far as, not as far, okay, so let me try to explain this. This skeleton, which I bought, it's a medical skeleton, is about like 25% smaller than me. And I really didn't like that because I thought that's less room to fit all the motors, the batteries, the onboard computers, the cooling systems. It's like, how will I fit everything in such a smaller frame, right? And then it dawned on me, there's another way to get a small framed individual to be bigger in mass, and that's fat. I can make a really fat robot or a really muscular robot or some combination thereof, a fat slash muscular. Kind of like a bodybuilder that has an eating problem. So we're talking just a huge, huge robot. Like, picture like a former NFL player that struggles with severe gluttony issues. So just tremendous muscle mass and tremendous fatty mass. And that way I have all the room I could want to put motors, batteries, sensors, you name it, just by making it massive. But I don't want it to get so massive that it's like not able to fit through the house. But I don't think a massive person struggles with that unless if they're like severely like 800 pounds. So I think I should be okay, but I'm going to have to make the robot fatter since its skeletal size went down. In order to compensate for that lost volume that I had to work with to fit all the components I need, I'll need to do something. And so I really think that the best solution for that is to make it physically fatter slash whatever. And plus, if you think about it, the majority of people are overweight or obese in the world, and especially Americans. So it's gonna fit in even more with other people if it's really fat. And also, I think that for a lot of people, they build robots to look really attractive. But I realized that my robot being attractive doesn't really matter. What matters is functionality. I want it to look realistic, but not necessarily attractive. The fact that it's realistic will be attractive as far as... So like, let's say an artist created a really beautiful painting or sculpture of an elderly person. You wouldn't consider an elderly to be in their prime as far as being attractive. Or let's say sexually attractive. I can make a robot that's attractive as far as realism, which takes a lot of artistic ability. So people can admire the artistic ability required to create something that looks so real. But for it to be sexually attractive, there's no advantage to that. There's just disadvantages. Why would I want somebody to sexually be attracted to a robot? I'm not creating a sex bot, so to make the robot sexually attractive isn't important. So that all just goes along with what I'm saying, that there's no reason not to make the robot be fat. And there's too many benefits to making the robot fat. It's just so much extra storage space for components. So I can spend less engineering time trying to squeeze components into a smaller area by having more area to work with. and that will save time in the design portions of the project. Exactly, Batum. Okay, so let's go ahead and measure another part and make sure that it fits with it's funny that we're, rather than sculpting a skeleton and then 3D printing it and manufacturing it, we're taking an existing skeleton and we're reverse engineering it into 3D software. So we have to measure the skeleton and then make our skeleton fit, our digital skeleton. And this way we can have an accurate representation of what we have to actually work with on the computer, and then we can fit all of our part placements onto this on the computer, make sure everything fits, and then we begin putting it onto the skeleton in real life. And this way we'll know everything's going to fit in advance and have all the measurements done and tested in advance. Alright, so this one is, I'm going to just use the metric side of the ruler. Okay, this one's 30 and a half centimeters, pretty much. So let's see. That was for the humerus. Okay. Bring that down a little bit. Okay, 30 and a half. Hey, it's perfect. Okay, so the humerus was, okay, so the humerus to the femur was proportional to my body's humerus to femur ratio. So when I resized the whole skeleton to make the femur match the medical skeleton, the humerus, because it was scaled along with that, ended up being matched to the medical skeleton as well. Where we will find discrepancies is if my body happens to have something that's off, like a substantially longer forearms than everyone else's body. Then the forearms would have to be tweaked. So we have to check bone by bone, making sure that the ratios, like if I had a particularly tall torso and this one does not, that has to be addressed. Or if I had really long legs and this one had kind of shorter legs, then they won't all match. But so far, these two bones were matching proportionally so far. And that's just pure luck, I guess. But the odds are we'll eventually run into some things that don't match. And I'm just going to keep checking, because we got to get it all right. Okay, so I'm going to test the ulna next. That is 27 centimeters. What's the Egyptian elbow? I don't know what you mean. Okay, 27. Okay, I can use these. For the ulna. Okay. Alright, I'm distracted. 15. 16, 17, 18, 19. Wait. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So it'd be 3 less than 1, 2, 3. That's close enough. Yeah, that's close enough. Okay, I'd say that's accurate. This is what was distracting me. This is called the Coccyx Bone. How do I know that? Let's just say having to sculpt so much skeleton stuff. I picked up a lot of knowledge on anatomy. It was like taking an anatomy course. Okay. So we've got the ulna and the humerus verified. Let's try the shin. So (14.5 inches). Say 14.3 inches. Okay. Alright, that's 36 centimeters for the shin. It's 36 more. Nice. Okay. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Whoa. Uh, 15, 30, 36 is like right here. So that's interesting. I'm seeing a big discrepancy. I almost can't trust that. Wow, it's true. 36. 36. Wow. Okay, so the shins are a huge difference. I'm blown away right now. can't be. 15, 30. Here's 36. That is insane. Okay, I know how to do it though. This is going to be a lot easier, watch. So we've got to separate again. Go to mesh, separate. Okay. We'll select these two. Alright, I'm going to start out making them just generally a little bit smaller. I think that's good. I don't want to go too crazy. But this is the crazy part. The height is like this. So this is one of the biggest differentiators, besides me being about 10% bigger than the medical skeleton, including all of my bones, scale, and everything. The major differentiator between me and the medical skeleton is the medical skeleton's shins are way shorter than mine, like 5% shorter. Okay. Now we'll just get the feet moved up to where the shin had to be. Who knew the feet had so many bones? I'm telling you guys, not having to make all these little feet bones and stuff, it's just going to save so much time for me. And really, I want a robot yesterday, man. You guys know, I've been patient. I've been chipping away for years. And it's time that we have a robot. Don't you guys all agree? It's time, man. I want to save time any way I can at this point. I'm getting rid of any stubborn hang-ups, any certain rules that are holding us back. Like one rule is we can't team up with other people. That went out the window. Another rule was it has to look just like me, and all the bones have to be made by me. That went out the window. Like I'm really aggressively taking every shortcut I can just to get us closer to the prize. I'm giving up a lot of things that I did not want to give up. But at this point, we're desperate. Okay. That's crazy. Ooh, that's not good. How'd they get left behind? Oh, is there more than one of them? Looks like this one there's not more than one of. That's annoying. You know, there's a command to make the pivot point snap to the center of the object, I believe. There. Okay. And then it looks like this toe piece was just a replica randomly hanging out, so I'm going to delete it. Hi, TXT. Okay. Well, since the whole thing was smaller, I think we can do this. That looked pretty good. Uh-oh. One leg looks... Look at the difference. That's crazy. So we have to replicate that to the other side. How do I best do that? Good question. Alright, I say... Man, that is such a difference. You see how stocky the leg looks immediately? And then this leg looks long and skinny. So if I just shortened my shin I would have stockier looking legs. That's really interesting. I just have really long shins, so my legs look skinnier. It's funny. To me, this looks more like an Asian leg. And then this looks more like a Nordic leg or something. I don't know. Western European leg. Larry, do you think bones from a formula baby or mom's milk would be bigger? I think it's not relevant to bone development. I think that would affect immune system, general health, maybe brain development as well. But I don't think bone development is based on that. I think bone development would be more based on DNA. Okay, I'm just gonna copy paste. Wow, it's really taking a long time to process that. Then we'll just invert it. What? Oh, this is bad. Have I been saving it? Oh no. Oh my goodness. Guys, I think we just lost everything. Oh. I didn't even think about saving it because I didn't think we got that far, but I mean we kind of did. It's been, well, I mean I talked a lot of it. At least now I know I don't have to measure the ulna or the humor or the yeah, the humerus and the ulna were proportional with the femur. So if I resize the model to make the femur to scale with my medical skeleton, then we know that all those measurements are already done. So that'll save time. And we also know that the shin is what really changed. Alright, so yeah, we did not save it at all. That is so frustrating. My goodness. Alright. Okay. Just what happened. I guess it's kind of good that the program crashed to remind me how fragile this program is, since I haven't used it in so long. It could have crashed after I spent like 6 hours of work. If you don't get in the habit of saving frequently on buggy programs, you lose a lot of work. And I think this time I lost about like 20 minutes of work, if you include that I'll be saving time since I discovered a bunch of stuff on the last pass that I don't have to then measure again, relating to the proportionality similarities of medical skeleton with my body's skeleton. For those of you tuning in a little late, the idea here is we're putting Adam on hold, Adam the robot, and we're starting a new humanoid robot using a pre-existing robot skeleton. So all of Adam's bones that I already made are no longer going to be used for this robot. They'll be used for AdamBot, which is going to be a robot that I'll still let the Kenyans work on, or I can have this robot make Adam. But we're starting fresh because Adam's bones are taking too long to make, and I'd rather use the medical skeleton's bones, which are already done. Now, you might be thinking, why not just use Adam's arm and slap it onto this robot? It's because it's like 25% bigger than every other bone on this body. It wouldn't fit. And then the arms would be different sizes. So even doing that's not an option. So everything I built for Adam will be still used for Adam, but I'm just going to jump straight into developing a totally separate robot since all these bones are already done. And I think the medical skeleton's bones are actually going to be strong enough for a robot. And I'm taking on the policy of any shortcut I can come up with to get a working humanoid robot, I will use. Because I'm at the point where I don't feel like waiting anymore. I want to have a robot as soon as possible. I'm just how do I say it? I'm so enthusiastic about having a robot, and I'm so excited for it that I'm willing to sacrifice certain early design decisions, like having the robot look just like me, having all of the bones be made by hand. I'm sacrificing a lot of things that I wanted to do ideally in exchange for getting it done quicker. But yeah, I could scale them at the same time, but I should be able to copy paste. I don't think copy pasting just doesn't work at all. I think it just ran into a rare glitch. Maybe I don't know what the problem was, but it could have been some memory leak thing. I don't know. Generally speaking, copy pasting should work. And right before I copy paste again, I'll save it. I should be saving like once every 2 or 3 minutes. That will prevent a lot of these issues from happening again. This program probably needs a ton of RAM. I think it's not too bad. It's a little bit on the RAM heavy side. It might need like 4 gigabytes, but I have 16 gigabytes of RAM, so I have more than enough. I'm pretty sure. But it'll start eating up your RAM pretty quickly when it starts saving everything you do. So it's good to delete the object history or delete all history once in a while, which clears up a lot of the RAM, I guess. Something like that. Why not help with the fight against COVID? I'm pretty sure the COVID pandemic is just about over. I wouldn't even know what to do to help. Is that skeleton solid plastic? I'm pretty sure it is solid. I'm pretty sure there's nothing hollow about it. And it's solid PVC. And when I try to bend it, it doesn't even bend. I really think it's comparable in strength to a human body's bones. And I think it's going to be more than enough as far as strength goes. I really do. And that's why I just can't justify hand making each bone if I've got something that's already a minimum viable product for $90 that's finished today. It's like, why should I make any more bones spending hundreds of hours? It's just, I won't do it. To center the pivot, you click modify center point. Got it, that's what I was looking for. Alright, so, where's that? Modify center point. There we go. Alright, let me measure it again, because I forgot the measurement. 16.5 inches. 42 centimeters. Okay. 30. Oh, wait a minute. 42. 30. Oh. Yeah, it's gotta be much bigger. 15. 30. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Oh, 70 here. Alright. So this will be 45, 44, 43, 42. Oh, it's going to be this long. 14, 30, okay, 45, 44, 43, 42. Smaller, dang it. Last time, I just had to do it once and I nailed it. This time, I just keep 100, compensating over compensating. Okay. 45, 44, 43, 42. A little bit smaller. Okay. Perfect. Alright, so we know that the humerus, the ulnar radius, and the femur were all proportional to one another. But we know that the shin, as you in the video, were not proportional. So, we're going to see how that goes a bit. Alright, first we need to measure it though. 14 inches. Or 14.3 inches. Alright, 36 centimeters. Okay. 30, 36. Alright. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. One, two, three, four, five, six. Such a 36, 1, 3. Alright. So that's where it should end. Okay, so let me save. Also, for someone that asked, no, I don't have the baby yet. It's going to be another month. In 1 month, I'm going to have a baby. But unfortunately, it's going to take like 4 years for that baby to be useful for building robots and stuff. And the first 4 years of the baby's life, they're not going to be very useful at all. So the baby will be a very poor employee starting out. I could have had the baby doing all this, but the baby doesn't even want to come out yet. When she finally gets around to coming out, she's going to be unwilling to help her father because she's too busy staring around pretending to be dumb or something, which I think babies do out of laziness. What I would prefer is if my child steps it up and starts working and starts earning the food that we put on the table. The Bible says if you don't work, you don't eat, and I don't see why the baby should be any exception. So hopefully my baby won't be lazy and they'll actually start working and providing for the family starting at like 1 month old at the latest. I mean, I guess I could give it like a 1 month vacation to start things out to celebrate 0 years old birthday. Nice. Okay. That looks good. Wow, we would just one-shot that. So we're catching up quickly to where we left off. I'm happy about that. It's been like 15 minutes. We're almost there. Okay, that went so much faster this second time. Let me save it again. Boom, one-shot it. Okay. Oh, I'm excited, guys. Because look, once we get this other leg done, the femur has already been tested. The feet, I'm not concerned with being very, very accurate because how many motors and components do we need to fit in the foot region? Not hardly anything. The main things we're concerned with is the amount of space we have to work with within the rib cage, within the bicep and tricep areas, within the forearm areas. That's where we're going to be putting components, where there's actually mass available on the body that you can put components at. And then in the torso, the hollows of the torso. So all that needs to be very accurate so we know how much room we have to work with. The skull is probably going to be proportional. We could do a very brief test to make sure the skull is about the same. Maybe we'll do a neck length test. But we're almost done here as far as rescaling the skeleton now to fit my medical skeleton behind me. And once that's done, we'll be able to get right into motor placement. And you can see where we left off here. We were putting... Alright, so these got moved, but all of these were... The red ones are representing the muscles. Or point A to B, yeah, muscles of the hand. And then we have the motors we're assigning to each muscle according to choosing the size of the motor according to how strong that muscle needs to be. And then if you follow the line over, it says the name of the muscle. Oh wait, no it doesn't. No, the name of the muscle is labeled on this line. So it has the name of the different muscles. And then if you follow the line that goes to the motor, then it says the type of motor. Brushed DC motor, size 140, 86 cents, 5 volt max. So it says the price, the name of it, the size, like so that you can rebuy it in the future, the price, and then the voltage. So that's really useful. And we created a whole library of motors here. All of these motors, by the way, we already purchased. But the name is so that we can buy more of them or whatever. So we've got all the way down to micro N20 brush DC motor. Oh, this one doesn't say price. I don't know why I didn't list the price that time. This one has the price. Here we go. $10.98 per motor for the size 2430 motors. 24 amps, 7.4 volts, 200 watts. It's a brushless. Is this one a brushed? Yeah, this one's a brushed, so it's a lot cheaper. It's 86 cents because it doesn't have rare earth magnets. Neodymium magnets are the expensive cost. I also changed the colors to match the colors of the motors I bought, so that's just going to help identify it easier. Brushless DC motor, 116/118 RC, 300 watts, 12.6 volts, 24 amps, 33.5 millimeter connector, $10.60, etc. All the way up to this is a 3650 brushless, 1/10 RC, 69 amps, 900 watts, $15.30. 900 watts, think about how much that is. Wow. A house has 1200 watts for a whole room. This one motor is pulling 75% of the total power of a whole room of a house, which powers refrigerator, microwave, like all that stuff. So this is a powerful motor. A lot of electrical current is going through that. And then that's not even the strongest one. That's third to strongest. Then we've got a 1200 watt motor. This pulls the same amount of power as a whole room of a house just for one motor. And then this one is the beefiest, biggest one. It is 2500 watts. That is 2 rooms of a house. 2 rooms of a house. That's how much power this thing draws. So it's super powerful. They use this one for like scooters and stuff. So I'll be able to put some of those. If you see the size of it, I can put it like a couple of them in the thigh. Per thigh, like a couple in the inner thighs. You can fit a lot of stuff in there. So I'll put the big boys there and maybe a few of them. One can be for the forward and backwards motions of the thighs. So one would represent the hamstrings and quadriceps. And then one could represent the calves, because I don't think one would fit in the calves. Well, maybe if I created big calves, maybe I could fit one actually. But yeah, the thighs and the calves are probably the most powerful muscles of the body. I could use a smaller one for the biceps, but like I said before, this is the proportions of my body, but we're gonna make much beefier thighs, calves, arms, and a big beefy stomach to fit a lot of batteries and stuff in that stomach area. So I'm going to create like a beer belly on my robot. And I'm going to create a big chest, real powerful shoulders, bigger shoulders. I probably will make slightly bigger traps, but I don't want to get too crazy on the shoulders and traps area because I don't want it to look superhuman like a sumo wrestler. I want it to look like a normal person. A normal person that's really big generally is not that muscular. So I'll create him to be somewhat muscular, but it's going to be a guy that hits the gym once a month or twice a month. Maybe has a construction job and eats a ton. So he has a big fat gut, a lot of fat on his body. But we don't want it to look freakish. So picture like just a really massive man, a former NFL player that just eats too much, something like that. We want it to look fairly realistic. We don't want the robot to stand out too much. We want the robot to be able to go shopping at a grocery store and nobody think it's a robot. Well, if it looks like really physically interesting, everyone would know it's a robot. We want it to be able to fit in a crowd. Now, that might not be possible because of the noise it will produce, unfortunately. But I'm not sure how much the skin will dampen that noise. We could have it carry around like a loud radio everywhere it goes, so that no one can hear its motor noises. There might be workarounds. Or let's say he goes in a grocery store, he grabs a cart. He can play a sound recording of very noisy cart. So it'd be like loud, squeaky cart noises that would hide the motor noises of him walking through the store. So we could cloak it somehow in that way. I really don't know how well the silicone skin will block the noise of the motors, and I don't know how loud the motors will be. Hopefully they'll be on the quiet side though. Plus he can generally try to stay away from people so they don't notice that he's a robot. But all it takes is for one person to notice, like, why do I hear motor sounds as this individual walks past me? I don't know. I feel like if the person's like, is that a robot? They'll freak out if they realize they just walked past a robot at a grocery store. I feel like they'll actually like start screaming or something. I just feel like it will just catch them so by surprise. They'll get really upset about it. Export and import, boys. They didn't crash me for doing that. Thank you, Tima. Yeah, make this myself. It's kind of complicated. I started with a base mesh that I bought. It was kind of cartoony, and then I modified it to match my body. And then I also started with a real human skeleton scan. And I modified that as well. So where it becomes my own work is kind of hard to say. When it's a combination of my own work and work that was from real scans. The point. The point of this is to do component network. Designing the robot. Mainly we're looking at motor selection and motor placement as the driving factors for the need to do this, as well as placement of the onboard computers, the artificial lungs, artificial heart. A lot of stuff needs to be decided on. Okay. This is the kind of content my stream should have way more. This is like why I started streaming, to do stuff like this, actually designing a robot, building a robot. I really would almost trade every other project I have just to have the robot project. I'm willing to make that sacrifice if I have to choose, you know. I may not have to choose, but lately, like the past year, I feel like I do have to make that choice. Pretty much because of my increased volunteering and research on Bible topics and stuff, I don't have as much project time, so that pretty much forces me into simplifying, downsizing all my projects. But the good thing is, all the other projects that I have, I can still outsource. And there's pretty much no limit on that front. So it's not like I get to never do all my other ideas. I still get to do them, just I don't get to do them myself. I have to appoint people to do them for me. But that's still good, because it would really stink to have to give up just all my good ideas. Still time. Oh, yeah. Hang on. Oh, I didn't wait for it. Actually, I'll send you that. I was going to. I'll talk for sure. Thanks for this. So the arms and legs and feet are okay. Now we got to test the height of the torso and width of the torso, and we'll do the head, and then that's it. "11 centimeters for the pelvis." Something tells me... No, 11 inches for the pelvis. Okay. That's 27 centimeters, okay. Okay, so the pelvis is too big. I don't know what we'll do. Well, that's gonna affect these guys too. That's about right. Okay. Height-wise, about 7.5 inches. Well, let's see. We can do 8 inches height. "20 centimeters height." It's kind of close on the height. Maybe just a pinch shorter. that looks good. Cool. Alright, so the pelvis is a match now. Alright, so total chest width will be my next measurement. Ten and a half inches, which is 26.5 centimeters. Ooh. Okay. Substantially broader chest we're dealing with in this model than... Okay. It will affect the spinal fitment. That's why I have to scale the spine with it. Probably scale the head with it too. And then you gotta scale the teeth as well. My goodness. Okay. It was 26.5. Uh-oh, please don't crash. Yay, it didn't crash. That scared me. Definitely gotta save. Whew. Okay. So. Bye, Flora. Let me check some other stuff before I mess with that. Let's see. From the crotch to the clavicle is 23 and a half. Clavicular notch. Which is 59 and a half centimeters. That looks good. That's good. Okay. From the... clavicular notch to the top of the head. That's my next measurement. Ten and 3/4. 27 centimeters. Okay. Yeah, that's match. Alright. Maybe we'll do edges here. We've got to now modify the mesh substantially to fit the new skeleton, but we got the proportions of the skeleton now completely changed. I think they're all set now. So the torso measurements are done. Also the head was proportional, so I don't think we gotta mess with that. So we're ready to roll now. Let me just do vertex. Let's see. I'd like to use a sculpting tool, maybe. Okay, object mode. Mesh. Sculpt geometry tool. Alright, I'm thinking like, even though technically the chest and rib cage seems a lot bigger than this rib cage, I might just keep it like that. It's more body mass. So even if it doesn't reflect the size of the relatively smaller skeleton, I want the beefier chest and whatever, because I need the extra space. So I'm going to leave that as is. But the head, I mean, shoot. Could we just leave the head like that too? No, we can't, because the mouth wouldn't line up with the skeleton. That's too bad. So yeah, we gotta make the head match, but... Okay, here's what we'll do. Boom. Man, I'm so wide awake. Guys, I think I woke up early this morning because I was so excited to work on the robot. I'm literally like a little kid on Christmas Day right now. Just the idea of getting to work on the robot is so thrilling to me. Hey, Mike. Alright, the arms have got to be fixed next. They're so bad. Okay. Gotta save it. Yeah. I'm using this skeleton for the robot. So I'm gonna start over because, okay, when I decided maybe I could use this for the robot as a skeleton, I was going to modify it to make it the size of my body because Adam has to be my size and proportions. But then to make this skeleton the size of my body would be way too much work. It would be easier just to make a new skeleton at that point because it's like 25% different from my body. It's much smaller. So I was just going to get rid of it because I realized it's way too small to work with. But then after spending like a whole year away from the robot and being haunted by the idea of having to create all the rest of the bones and having these already strong enough, I just decided all the bones we made for Adam, we're going to scrap them temporarily, not even use them, not consider them, pretend like it never happened, and consider that all these bones are new bones. Now, it's not technically Adam then, because it's a robot that's not my size, it's not going to look like me. So this is a new robot. We named this robot Abel because Adam and Eve had Cain and Abel. And so this robot's name is Abel. And it's a totally new build, but we get to keep a lot of the work we already did on Adam and all the design work and everything else. And it's a new robot project pretty much. But we're still going to let Adam be an ongoing project, but we'll have the Kenyans continue working on that. But my personal robot will be this one. The Kenyans are going to finish making Adam's bones and stuff, and we'll still make Adam too. And this robot, Abel, can help make Adam as well to finish Adam. So Adam's not gone forever, but Abel is taking over. It'd be convenient just to call this robot Adam and pretend the rest didn't ever happen. But there's too much sentimental value and effort that went into making Adam, and I still like the idea of making a robot that's a clone of myself. So I'm still gonna do that, but I don't feel like waiting for all the bones to get done and just focusing on that being my only robot. I'd rather just pivot to make this the robot, and then Adam will be the second robot. That way I have a working robot much quicker. I'm doing this for speed. I want a moving working robot ASAP. And Adam's just taking too long. You'll be right back. Hi, Boozer. That was nice for you. Okay. No, it's not working either. Hmm. That's better. Oh, actually, I'm designing like a robot. Of course. Sounds sweetheart. Okay. We're going through a handful more measurement tests. I still don't trust dimensions fully, although we're getting real close, so I'm just gonna double checking. Okay, I was trying to measure it. It was a lot smaller than it was supposed to be. The head was. I'm designing my humanoid robot. I'm making my robot like you see in movies. Able to walk, talk, run, jump, play sports. It's a humanoid robot I'm making. Maybe the humanoid robot will protect me from all these riders. Yeah, what I'm trying to do is literally something you would see in a video game. But I'm dead serious about it, and I believe I'm capable of doing it as well. And that's caused a lot of controversy in my stream over the years, and it's been years working on it. So it's not something I just do today. I'm committed to this. It's a lifelong passion, and it's a passion that just grows. It never wanes, it just gets bigger. Can I show the robot hand? Like I said, I abandoned the old robot build. I'm now making it from a medical skeleton. Now, I didn't... Okay, I shouldn't really say I abandoned it, but I'm starting a new robot with a completed skeleton, which I purchased. And that's to save time, because I just can't wait anymore for more years to get the custom skeleton done. And I'm planning to outsource the fabrication of that. And I've already put that outsourcing into motion. But it's going to take years for it to become done. And so in the meantime, I'll be working on this robot. And this is going to be the robot now. But I'm still going to do the other robot as my second robot. So the robot I started out making by hand will be done, but it's going to be put off while this second robot attempt becomes the priority. And the reason I'm going with this second robot as the priority is because the bones are already done. I'm just using stock bones. And that's why I'm having to modify my sculpture, or my 3D model, because I had to make the skeleton the same proportions and dimensions as the medical skeleton I purchased. And I've just about got that done. I made a ton of measurements, and I modified the base mesh as well to match. So, I think I am in fact done, guys. Yeah, I'm going to call it done here. The skeleton is perfect, and the body is perfect. It's kind of on the chubby side, which is what I want, because that gives... this is a massive body. And that gives more room for materials, components, electronics. Alright. So, no, this one's not meant to look like me at all, Caboose. It's using a much smaller skeleton. It's going to be a lot more stocky than I am. The proportions of the legs are different. It's going to be a lot shorter than I am. I'm a tall, skinny guy. This is going to be a short, chubby guy. So it's not meant to look at me at all, like me at all. Adam will look like me, but this robot will not. This robot is not Adam. This robot's name is Abel. And Abel will hopefully help me finish building Adam. But Abel is my now top priority because Abel actually has a finished skeleton, and that's why Abel is advantageous over Adam. Having a finished skeleton is a huge, huge, huge win for me. Adam's skeleton won't be done for years. Abel's skeleton's done today. Which one would you work on? The one where you're just going to be doing bone building forever, or the one that's ready to go? I want a robot up and running and moving ASAP. So that's what we're doing here.